I just got a package. Let's open it up. I'm gonna be changing my frames, my wheels, and my bearings on my Maxims. And I thought that we could do it together. Oh my goodness. First thing I got is new wheels. These are 110 millimeter 85A Rollerblade hydrogen wheels. Changing from my 90 millimeter to 110. New frames. This is what I got. In the box is this little envelope, which is all of the hardware that I'm going to need for my new frames. It's your axles and your frame bolts. Ooh, I got a new Allen. I love these. You can't have too many of these. I have one in like every single bag. And then this is actually a nice one. It's not one of those like little L metal ones, which do work, but they're super annoying and they kind of hurt your hand. This one has a nice handle and it has a little pusher on it too. These are beautiful. It says max 110. That's an important number because I could put like 100s on if I wanted to. I don't know why I would, but I couldn't put like 125. So always look at that number, and that's going to be on any frames that you have. The first thing I have to do is take the frames off. So you can see there's a frame bolt right here, and you can kind of look and see which wheel needs to be removed. The third wheel. Pull the screw out. There's like some hair, some dirt. And then the other wheel I need to take off is the other middle wheel. Here's a tip. If the other side is stuck and you can't get it out like with your fingers, take this part of the screw, the one that does screw, and just push it, and you'll see how when you push it, it pops out a little bit. And then you can pull it out and then pull this side out. That's a tip that I learned when I worked at the skate shop. I don't know if it's common sense. Now it's time to take the frame bolts off. Pull the frame off. And one thing for storage purposes, I always do this at this point. I'm gonna put the wheels back on the frames. Instead of having separate pieces getting separated, I really wanna keep these wheels with these frames. I just like to keep everything really neat and organized. So before I move forward, I'm gonna pop the wheels back on. Another skate maintenance tip. Sometimes to get the axle in, the spacer will move around and sort of block it, and it'll feel really hard to get in. So if you take your Allen and you put it inside, you can kind of move the spacer around and make sure that it's not in the way when you push the axle in. And there, it went right in. You don't have to make it all the way tight because it's just for storage. Next step, I'm gonna screw the new frame onto the boot. You'll see where it goes. Oh, you'll notice on the frame how one side is mounted. See how this one's a little higher than this side? This is the heel, the mounted side. The heel, the toe. Okay, that was the left foot that I showed you, and this is the right foot. If you're wondering how do you know right from left, that's just the logo. Normally the logo goes on the outside so it matches, but I guess technically it doesn't really matter what side the logo is on. I'm just used to making everything look proper. So I need to line up the holes. Frame bolt. The trickiest part is to really be sure you keep everything centered. Now here is another actual really important tip. When you screw down the first side, don't make it completely tight right away, because what will happen if you make it completely tight, it's locked into that position. And now we're on the next one. So the second frame bolt, you do want to screw in completely tight, completely centered. Now you might be asking, if it has to stay completely centered, why is it made in a way where it can shift all the way to the left or all the way to the right? And there are advanced skaters, like freestyle slalom skaters, they might go one way or the other, and honestly I don't know the mechanics of it. You want it completely centered, and you would know if you're in the small niche of people who need it aligned one way or the other. And screw it in really tight now. And because the first side was left loose, it was a little off balance, and I scooted it back to the center, and now it's really easy, nice and tight. Make sure both sides are tight. Okay, the frame is on. Next part is the wheels. These wheels did not come with bearings. Most wheels don't come with bearings. So when you're purchasing stuff for a new set of rollerblades, don't forget to buy new bearings unless you want to take your old bearings out. I made poor decisions and ruined these. I thought the pool looked like it would be really fun to skate through, and sometimes you do go in water and then you do a really good job of drying them right away, skating them a lot so the water spins out instead of rust. But I did everything wrong. I got out of the pool and then I had to go get on an airplane. So I like threw the liners in the dryer, and then I threw my skates in a backpack, and then they sat in a backpack for hours and hours, 10 hours, and then I landed in LA really late and I was really tired and lazy. I should have taken them out of the backpack and worked on them then, but instead they actually sat in the backpack overnight until the next day. And that, my friends, is how you ruin your bearings, is you go in water and then you shove them in a backpack and ignore them. And sometimes when they're seized up like this, if you kind of work it or work in lube, you can get it rolling again. Like, it's not completely done, but no, this isn't fun to skate. This is slow and no good. This one's seized up too. Now it's going. So thirsty bearings. I don't want to put these basically ruined bearings in my brand new frames and wheels. So I actually meant to get brand new bearings, but I didn't. So instead, I'm going to be taking bearings out of old wheels that I skated these like maybe twice. And so the bearings are still really fresh and really new. To take the bearings out of the wheel, I'm going to use the same tool that came with my frames. So you're going to kind of pry it out. Stick it sort of in the middle where the spacer is, where the bearings meet. Get a good grip. Find that center, and it kind of pops out. And here's the bearing. Inside is the spacer. You need the spacer to roll. You can't forget the spacer. A lot of new bearings don't come with spacers. And I think all bearings should come with spacers, but they don't, and I don't know why. So when you buy new bearings, you need to buy new spacers too. Don't forget. When I worked at Shop Task Skate Shop, a lot of people would come into the shop and be like, my wheels are just not spinning right. Something's wrong. And I would pop open the bearing and there was no spacer on the inside. And they'll be like, what's a spacer? What's a bearing spacer? So if you're wondering, can you skip the spacer? The answer is no. Your wheels aren't going to roll correctly without a spacer. And then to pop out the second bearing, this one's a little easier. You use the tool. Be really careful. So I have my bearings and bearing spacer. Fresh wheel. It just pops right in. This one went in really nice. Bearing spacer goes in the center, in between the bearings. And this is ready. Okay, next one. And another tip, if the bearing isn't going completely down, you can use your Allen again. Put it in like this, and then just sort of press it down. Popped right in. If that's not working and it's really tight, sometimes you can sort of press on the ground, but be really careful when you do that because you can hurt your bearing when you do that. Okay, so I have 3 wheels. Last step, I'm almost done. Time to put the wheels in. The axles that came in this little bag. This is a little different than the 90s because there's only one side. It just screws right in. The 90s had 2 parts. If you notice, there was like the little screw that screwed into the axle. Axle. Screwed in really tight. And then I always go back and recheck and make sure everything is really tight. It's really important. Oh, see, this one was loose. All right, I'm ready to roll. I'm all set. What do you guys think? Thank you guys so much for tuning in to me getting my skates all set up. I'm about to go to the beach with my friend Lauren, who's visiting from Scotland, and these are gonna be so much fun. I'll see you guys soon. Love ya.